how is it possible that one team can have so much talent?
Here's Hardaway off the bounce. Nice feed inside. Jones blocked by Brown. Porzingis way outside. Knocks down another. Here's Irving. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
A team so good that their best player, well, a team so good that people question who their best player actually is on any given night.
Well, Jalen's the best player, so...
But a team where Jason Tatum can shoot 6 of 22 from the field, and yet Boston can comfortably win an NBA Finals game. The Boston Celtics are a cheat code, and Brad Stevens has the rest of the NBA looking foolish, because through 2 games of this series, the Celtics' best player in Game 1 was Kristaps Porzingis, and their best player in Game 2 was Drew Holiday, 2 guys Boston brought in during last year's trade period, but it was how they did it which was truly ridiculous. On the surface, if you were to just look at the Drew Holiday trade, you'd think that's a pretty fair price given his age, but when you consider the 2 first-round picks that Boston gave up, they received in return for Kristaps Porzingis, that's when things look ridiculous, effectively giving up Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, and Robert Williams, alongside shuffling a couple of picks for Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Now, none of those names I mentioned are bad players, but none of those guys could do what Kristaps did in Game 1 or what Drew just did in Game 2. Oh, did I mention the game-winning block was made by another player Brad Stevens traded for? But before we talk about Derek White, this game right here was why the Celtics traded for Drew Holiday, making key defensive plays to go along with 26 and 11 on 80% from the field, and all of his damage was done at the rim, with 9 of those 11 buckets being layups. And if that sounds surprising, well, simply put, teams aren't equipped to defend a player this talented as a spot-up shooter. Take this play for example. Tatum has the ball against Luka. You see Jones at the elbow helping off Holiday, so Tatum gets in the paint, kicks it out to Drew, and watch Jones fly by as Drew then hits Gafford with a slight hesitation before driving to the rim. This has been a feature of the Mavs defense throughout the playoffs, helping off shooters to clog the paint and then forcing the weak links from the other teams to make shots. Well, the thing is, the Celtics' quote-unquote weak links are Drew Holiday and Derek White, so you can't just aggressively close out on their 3-point shots, because they will willingly put the ball on the floor, like here where again Drew gets it off the catch, and look at the Euro step to the rim. And earlier in the playoffs, people, well, Milwaukee fans in particular, were clowning Drew Holiday for his offensive struggles, and he was struggling, averaging 8 points on 36% from the field during his first 7 games. Well, the following 9 games, he's made up for it, averaging 18.7 boards and 5 assists on 60, 44, 94 splits in that time, and unsurprisingly, the Celtics have been unbeaten during that period. And this is what makes the Celtics so difficult to defend. We've seen teams like Houston play 5-out offense and countless others, but instead of having PJ Tucker and Trevor Ariza spotting up, it's Drew Holiday and Derek White, who on any given team would be capable of running the offense. I mean, just last year, Drew Holiday was averaging 20 and 7 in Milwaukee and was named an All-Star, which pretty much encapsulates this Celtics team as a whole. You have 5 players. In fact, there are players on the bench that could all produce more if they were given the opportunity. Just look at the Celtics starters numbers from last year compared to this year. But instead of worrying about those extra points per game being left on the table, they're all taking more efficient shots and ultimately winning at a level we have rarely seen in NBA history. And if there was any question marks over who the X factor on this team is, Game 1 put that to rest, because despite the injury problems, Kristaps Porzingis is one of the most unique players in the NBA. And for Boston to just have him as a weapon they can unleash at their choosing, Brad Stevens, you are a bad, bad man. Because going back to game 1 of this series, you'd find it very difficult to find a more impactful 7 minutes in the first quarter of a finals game in recent memory. Not only did Porzingis hit 4 of his first 5 shots and look like a complete mismatch for Dallas offensively, but defensively, he was absolutely dominant, using that 7-3 frame to either block everything that came his way or deter every shot at the rim. And there was no better encapsulation of this than the end of the first quarter. Josh Green gets the steal, and with just Porzingis to beat in the open court, you'd think Green might have the advantage given his supreme athleticism, but watch KP track back the entire way, and whilst running backwards, he's able to contort his body and swat Green at the rim. Or just look at him in transition here, where again it's a one-on-one. PJ Washington tries to go into the chest of KP, but he absorbs the hit and forces a very tough miss. All throughout game 1 and in spurts during game 2, Kristaps put a lid on the rim for Dallas, which is particularly important when you consider outside of Luka and Kyrie, this is a team built on their ability to finish at the rim with all of the athleticism they have on that roster. But even an explosive jumper like Gafford was absolutely annihilated by KP on this play. Or Derrick Jones Jr., where you see KP's ability to initially help Derek White on the drive before then rotating over and blocking Jones Jr. at the rim. The Celtics are already an elite team with Al Horford in the place of Porzingis, but when you see him have quarters like that, where he's the best defender on the floor and a complete nightmare to defend offensively, that is what has made them a historically great team during the regular season and now the playoffs. And then there's the third piece to the Brad Stevens puzzle, Derek White. When Boston initially traded for White, well, not everyone was happy, with this article not only claiming it was a disaster, but going on to say this will rank among the worst trades in Celtic history. It will be remembered in the same category as Chauncey Billups for Kenny Anderson in 1998, suggesting Brad Stevens had been possessed by the ghost of Rick Pitino. This is why Brad Stevens is a general manager, and the person writing that is not, because trading for Derek White has not only proven to be slightly better than one of the worst trades in Celtic history, but it has proven to be nothing short of a stroke of genius, turning a good role player in San Antonio into an all-star level player in Boston. Yes, an all-star level player, because when you have the ability to block shots like a wing, guard with intensity on the perimeter, and then score and facilitate at a high level from all 3 levels, you're an all-star level player. I mean, over his last 36 playoff games for Boston, he's averaging 15, 3-3, and over a block a game on nearly 50, 40, 90. And whilst the raw numbers might not blow anyone away, this is all the whilst being one of the best defenders in the NBA and being capable of making shots at a consistent rate that role players simply do not make. Like here with the shot clock winding down and Dallas making some inroads on the lead, he just casually pulls from 30 feet, which felt like an absolute dagger in the heart of Dallas. Or here where he gets the ball in the corner, he spins off Jones before floating it in over the 7-footer. The box score numbers will never resemble an all-star level player, but for the people who watch him consistently, it's clear that his impact is at that level, or at the very least, very close to it. Now, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video and want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. It's free. Either way, have a great day. Bye.